Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Right. Imagine for a moment that your digital world, your company's invaluable data, it's like this magnificent, bustling city.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep it safe, vibrant, productive, obviously. But how do you defend it, from those who might want to disrupt or steal from it?
It's a constant challenge.
Exactly. So today, we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of cybersecurity defenses, how organizations actively build those digital city walls, the gates, the internal security forces, basically how they protect themselves from these ever-present threats and attacks. Our mission. Well, we've pulled together a whole stack of sources, really comprehensive stuff, to give you a shortcut to being truly well-informed.
Trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, our goal isn't just to list a bunch of security tools. It's to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge so you'll understand not just the what, but the why behind these critical measures.
That why is key.
Get ready for some serious aha moments, because I think you'll never look at your everyday digital interactions the same way again.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is that this isn't about just, fostering fear. It's really about empowerment.
Right. Understanding.
Yeah, understanding the robust and frankly intricate strategies organizations have put in place to protect us all. We're going to try and break down these complex systems into truly digestible insights, make them clear, accessible.
So you can really see how sophisticated this digital defense actually is.
Exactly.
So, okay, if you're building this digital city or an organization, where do you even begin when thinking about cybersecurity? You can't just start putting up random walls, right? Is there like a master blueprint, a foundational framework that guides them?
Absolutely. Yeah, you need a plan. Many organizations kick off their cybersecurity journey with something called the COSO framework.
Okay, so what's...
Right. So COSO stands for the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations. It's essentially a powerful guide, comes from an advisory group that helps businesses get a grip on internal controls, fight fraud, manage risk.
Yeah.
Their internal control framework, it was updated back in 2013, is really an industry benchmark. If you've ever seen it, it's often called the KOCS cube.
The cube, right.
Yeah, it's a pretty good visual for how all the elements of an internal control system, including cybersecurity, are designed to work together. It's all interconnected.
Makes sense.
Now, COO classifies internal control objectives into 3 main groups. And this is where I think the aha moment for cybersecurity really comes in.
Okay.
First, you have operational objectives. This is about making sure the digital city itself runs smoothly, protecting IT assets against threats, fraud, ensuring everything's effective, efficient.
Keeping the lights on, basically, securely.
Exactly. Then, reporting objectives. This one's crucial because it ensures your cybersecurity controls don't mess with your financial or non-financial reporting.
Okay, so security doesn't break accounting.
Precisely. Think of it as making sure all the city's accounts are transparent, reliable, delivered on time. Data integrity is key.
Got it.
And finally, compliance objectives. This just means the city adheres to all the laws and regulations, whether it's NIST guidelines here in the U.S., IPAY for healthcare data, or, international laws like GDPR for privacy.
So it's about secure operations, spotless reports, and staying legal. That really integrates security into the very fabric of the business, doesn't it? Not just some IT add-on.
That's the goal. It has to be embedded.
But how do they actually implement all that, from the top down? How does it filter through the organization?
That's where the 5 interlocking components of the COSO framework come in. Think of them like layers of a strong foundation.
Okay, let you roll.
First, the control environment. This is often called the tone at the top, and it's absolutely vital.
Right. Leadership buy-in.
Critically important. It means senior management doesn't just delegate security, they champion it. They lead the charge on cyber awareness, guide IT policies, incident response, educate the entire workforce.
If the leaders care, everyone else follows.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
exactly. Then risk assessment. This is where they identify the biggest threats to their digital city, both from inside and out.
Okay, where are the weak spots?
Pretty much. They tailor procedures to analyze cyber risks, looking at likelihood, potential impact. It's about asking, what are we most vulnerable to, and how much risk are we willing to live with? You can't eliminate all risk.
Risk tolerance, right?
Right. Next, control activities. These are the actual policies and procedures put in place to ensure that tone at the top isn't just talk, it's actual action at every level.
The concrete rules.
Yep. Then information and communication. Exactly what it sounds like. Ensuring everyone, from the CEO down to the newest intern, speaks the same language about cybersecurity.
Getting everyone on the same page.
Yeah, consistent, relevant info sharing, things like business impact analyses, regular employee meetings on policies, periodic email reminders, mandatory annual training. Everyone needs to know their role.
Okay, and the last one.
Finally, monitoring activities. This isn't a one-and-done thing, it's ongoing. A practice to identify vulnerabilities and determine how effective those existing controls truly are.
Checking the walls.
Constantly. Because cyber attacks are always evolving, you need continuous checks. This includes things like simulated attacks, we call that penetration testing.
Oh, yeah, same, right.
Vulnerability scanning to find known weaknesses, even sending fake phishing emails to see if employees spot the danger. This continuous monitoring helps management see where their digital city walls might be cracking, where new threats are emerging.
That's a really powerful framework. It's like creating that strategic security plan before you even lay a digital brick.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have that overarching strategy, what about the more practical day-to-day rules?
Yeah.
The guidelines governing digital activity, like the actual building codes for the city.
Right. That brings us down a level to the hierarchy of security policies, standards, and procedures. At the top level, you have the security policies. Think of these as the high-level laws of the land, the foundation. They define the overall security needs, the strategic plan. Spell out clear terms, roles, responsibilities, acceptable risk levels. It shows senior management has taken due care.
Due care, okay.
Yeah, it's a legal concept, too. These policies can be broad, like for all users, or very specific, like for a particular system data classification, how security controls are selected, user access rules, things like that.
Gotcha.
Now, a really crucial type of policy, and one you've probably encountered, is the acceptable use policy, or AUP.
Oh, yeah, the thing you click accept on without reading.
A slight chuckle. Yeah. Hopefully people read it. But yes, that's often what it is. It's your employee rulebook for using company tech. It regulates how employees, even vendors sometimes, can use technology resources, lists acceptable behaviors, assigns responsibilities, and crucially, specifies consequences for violations.
So don't do bad stuff with company gear.
Basically, you often sign one before getting your company laptop or network access. It covers everything: personal device use for work, web browsing rules, confidentiality, even if your company devices are monitored.
Which they almost certainly are.
Almost certainly, yes. Restricted activities, too.
So it's the rule book for tech use. Makes sense. Given how ubiquitous they are now, what about mobile devices specifically? Phones, tablets? They're always connected, always moving. That seems like a weak point.
You're absolutely right. Poor management of mobile devices is considered one of the greatest threats to an organization. They're often outside the traditional network perimeter.
Right, they're out in the wild.
Exactly. So mobile device security policies are critical. These are often subsections of a broader AUP, but they specifically define policies for tablets, smartphones, smartwatches.
Okay.
They cover everything from strict password rules, maybe mandatory multi-factor authentication.
We'll get to MFA later, I bet.
Oh, yes. Required encryption, rules for connecting to public Wi-Fi, big one there, and policies on downloading apps or files.
Right, controlling what gets onto the device.
Precisely. And then there's bring your own device, or BYOD, policies.
Ah, using your personal phone for work email.
Exactly. These allow employees to use their personal phones or laptops for work and connect them to the company network. BYOD policies have some unique and, frankly, challenging elements.
Like what?
For instance, they address the extent of monitoring on your personal device. That's a tricky balance, right? Privacy versus security surveillance.
Yeah, definitely.
They also stipulate data ownership. Generally, company-related info on your personal device is considered company property, even if it's your phone.
Good to know.
Personal liability and indemnification are usually covered too, who's responsible if something goes wrong. And they can restrict activities or app downloads even on your personal device to prevent data breaches or creating new ways in for bad actors.
So BYOD is convenient, but risky.
It definitely introduces significant risks that organizations have to navigate very, very carefully.
Wow. That's a lot of intricate thought just for devices we carry in our pockets. So we have the overarching policies, then these more specific ones like AUPs and mobile policies. What comes next in this hierarchy? Below policies.
Next are security standards. So if policies are the law, standards are more like the building codes.
Okay, the mandatory specs.
Right. Mandatory requirements or adopted best practices that serve as benchmarks to accomplish the policy goals. They often define a minimum level of security performance. Examples include adhering to frameworks from NIST, privacy laws like GDPR, or industry standards like PCI DSS for payment card data.
Got it. The required minimums.
And then at the lowest, most detailed level of documentation, we have Security Standard Operating Procedures, or SOPs.
The step-by-step guides.
Exactly. These are the detailed instructions on how to perform specific security tasks or controls. Think of them as the contractor's detailed instructions for, say, installing a specific type of lock or configuring a particular security system.
Okay.
And it's often recommended, actually, to segment SOPs. Don't put them all in one massive document.
Why is that?
Well, it prevents any single person from having access to instructions for every single security practice in the company. Adds another little layer of security.
Compartmentalization. Makes sense. Okay, so we've got the foundational frameworks, the COSO cube, and the architectural blueprints, the policies, standards, procedures. Now let's get into the actual infrastructure of our digital city. How do organizations physically and logically secure their networks? The very roads and highways that data travels on today.
Right, the network itself. At its core, a network is simply a system of physical and virtual devices connected by wired or wireless tech, using various protocols to send, receive, store data.
The plumbing of the internet.
Kind of, yeah. The essential building blocks, the network components, are probably familiar. Routers control data flow, direct traffic based on IP addresses. Switches send traffic to specific target destinations within a local network. And firewalls, which are absolutely fundamental, filter and monitor traffic at key entry points.
The main guards.
Definitely. Others, like modems, connect you to the internet. Servers run applications or store files. Those are the basic pieces.
Okay, so how do we protect those digital highways? What are the key network security methods?
Well, one critical method is network segmentation or isolation. This is like dividing your city into secure neighborhoods, or pocketed isolation, as it's sometimes called.
Digital gated communities?
Sort of. You control network traffic by separating it from outside communications or even from other internal segments. So if one neighborhood is breached, the attacker can't easily jump to another. It contains the damage.
Smart. And firewalls, you mentioned.
And of course, the firewall is the primary gatekeeper. These can be physical hardware devices, software, or sometimes both. They're designed to filter and monitor incoming and outgoing network traffic, blocking malicious activity based on predefined rules, your first line of digital defense.
Got it. What about wireless? Wi-Fi?
Right. For wireless networks, the Service Set Identifier, or SSID, is simply the name of your Wi-Fi network. You see it when you connect.
Like my own Wi-Fi.
Exactly. A simple security enhancement, though not foolproof, is to disable SSID broadcasting. Makes your network less visible to casual scans, like removing the street sign for a hidden alleyway.
I've actually done that at home.
Yeah.
Makes it a bit harder for someone to even know your Wi-Fi is there.
Mm-hmm.
What about securing remote access, like employees working from home or just connecting over the wild west of the public internet?
Yes. That's precisely where a virtual private network, or VPN, comes in.
VPNs, right. Use those all the time.
Yeah, they're common now. A VPN builds a secure virtual network on top of existing physical networks. Creates a tunnel of protection for your data using encryption protocols.
Like an armored car on a public highway.
That's a great analogy, yeah. One common protocol used is IPsec. It uses cryptography for encryption, access control, authentication, provides secure remote access to company applications and data, ensuring anything you send is private and hasn't been tampered with.
Okay. Essential for remote work.
Absolutely. And for wireless connections themselves, you've probably seen Wi-Fi Protected Access, WPA protocols.
WPA2. Yeah, in my Wi-Fi settings.
Right, WPA was the first. Then came WPA2, which added much stronger encryption using something called AES, Advanced Encryption Standard.
AES, okay.
And the latest is WPA3, provides even more sophisticated encryption, more secure handshakes when you connect, stronger password protections. Each generation is basically a stronger lock on your wireless door.
Getting progressively tougher. Good. So that covers the network perimeter and traffic flowing through it. But what about the devices on the network? Every laptop, phone, server, each one feels like a potential way in.
Absolutely. That brings us to endpoint security. The concept here is critical. Every single device connected to the network, desktop, server, mobile phone, often called a host, needs its own local security, separate from the network-wide stuff.
Security on the device itself.
Exactly. Examples include antivirus and malware screening software running locally, authentication and authorization mechanisms to control who logs into that specific device, local host firewalls, host-based intrusion detection or prevention systems. It's about securing every single entry point to the network, right on the device.
Makes sense. Individual defenses.
Closely related and hugely important is system hardening. This is a really comprehensive security approach. It's about reducing risk by minimizing attack vectors, potential ways across all IT infrastructure.
Hardening, like making it tougher.
Precisely. Applications, databases, operating systems, servers, networking gear. You harden everything. It's like taking a standard building and making it much more robust, removing unnecessary windows, reinforcing doors, reducing any potential weak spots.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. A key part of endpoint hardening for laptops and desktops is removing administrative rights for regular users, restricting what software they can download, ensuring local firewalls are active.
Limiting what users can accidentally break.
Or intentionally. For server hardening, this might include physically segregating servers, maybe geographically separating backups for resilience, revising firewall rules, removing unused network ports, blocking unnecessary protocols on the network side. It's all about shutting down any unnecessary pathways an attacker might use.
Being meticulous about closing doors.
Exactly. And one more method worth mentioning is media access control, MAC filter.
MAC address. That's like a device's unique serial number, right?
Essentially, yeah. A unique hardware identifier. MAC filtering is where a wireless access point blocks unauthorized devices by only allowing connections from a pre-approved list of these unique MSC addresses.
So only known devices can join the Wi-Fi.
Right. Now, it's a relatively simple barrier. Sophisticated attackers can sometimes spoof MAC addresses, but it adds another layer of security, especially in smaller or more controlled environments. Every little bit helps.
Okay, even with these strong network defenses, segmentation, firewalls, hardening setting screens, you still have people who need to access systems. Employees, contractors, partners. How do organizations control identity and manage who's allowed through those digital gates? This seems critical.
It is absolutely critical. And this is where we distinguish between identification and authentication. They sound similar, but they're distinct steps in a process.
Okay, what's the difference?
Identification is simply claiming who you are, like providing your username. I am user X.
Okay.
Authentication is validating that claim, like entering your password or using your fingerprint. Prove you are user X. It's a sequence. First, assert identity, then rigorously verify it.
Got it. Claim, then prove.
Right. Now, beyond that basic login, organizations implement several crucial security operations practices. First, and this is a major shift in modern cybersecurity thinking, there's zero trust.
Zero trust. Heard that term a lot lately.
Yeah, it's big. The old model kind of assumed that once you're inside the company network, you could basically be trusted. Zero trust flips that completely on its head.
How so?
It assumes the company's network is always potentially hostile, even after initial authentication. It moves from a one-time check at the gate to continuous validation at every single point of interaction.
Wow, okay.
NIST, the National Institute of Standards Trust. The core mantra is never trust, always verify.
So it's like every internal door in that digital city requires you to re-verify who you are and why you need access, not just the front gate.
That's a perfect way to put it. Every device, every application, every connection is continuously checked and rechecked based on risk and context. It's a powerful shift.
Definitely sounds more secure. What else?
Then there's the principle of least privilege. This is fundamental. It means users and systems are granted only the absolute minimum authorization and resources needed to perform their specific job function. Nothing more.
If your job is just to read documents, you don't get permission to delete them.
Exactly, or even edit them, maybe. A common violation of this is something called privilege creep.
Privilege creep.
Yeah, where access gradually increases over time. Maybe someone gets promoted or changes roles and they get new permissions, but the old, unneeded permissions are never removed. This leaves unnecessary doors open.
Accumulating access you don't need anymore.
Precisely. Closely related is need to know. This one's a bit different. While least privilege focuses on the access needed, what resources you can touch need to know focuses on the data an employee must actually know to do their job.
Okay, subtle difference.
It is. So a sales rep might have least privilege access to the sales database, but they only have need to know access to the client list they personally manage, not the entire company's client base. It's about limiting exposure to sensitive information itself.
Got it. Access versus information. And you mentioned whitelisting.
Right, whitelisting and blacklisting. Whitelisting is like having an exclusive guest list for applications. Only explicitly authorized applications are allowed to run on systems. Everything else is blocked.
Very restrictive.
It is, but effective. Blacklisting is the opposite. It identifies and prevents specific unauthorized applications from running, like a digital no-fly list for software. These rules are typically enforced by automated software agents on the endpoints.
So setting really strict boundaries on what people can access and what programs can even run. Now, let's talk about the actual technologies used to prove identity. What are the main authentication methods we encounter, beyond just passwords?
Oh, there's a wide array of authentication technologies. Passwords are just the start. We have context-aware authentication. This uses contextual data like the time of day, your geographic location, your IP address to help make authentication decisions.
Like if I suddenly log in from another country.
Exactly. It might trigger an extra verification step because the context is unusual. Then digital signatures. These are electronic encrypted stamps used for non-repudiation. Basically proof that you are who you say you are and that a document hasn't been tampered with since you signed it.
Okay, for verifying documents.
Yes. Single sign-on, SSO, is really popular now. Lets users authenticate just once for a single session, but gain access across multiple resources or devices.
Like logging into Google and getting access to Gmail, Drive, Calendar.
Perfect example. Or using a code from your smartphone app to log into your smart TV. Authenticate once, access many, and then the gold standard, multi-factor authentication, MFA.
MFA. Hear about this constantly.
As you should. It's highly recommended, incredibly effective, uses 2 or more different factors to validate identity, often combines something you know, like a password.
With something you possess, like your phone or security key.
Exactly. Or something you are, like a fingerprint or face scan. That combination makes it exponentially harder for attackers.
Makes sense. What else?
Personal identification numbers, PINs. Numeric codes. Most effective when combined with other factors, like your debit card plus PI. Recommendations usually include changing them regularly, not reusing them, making them at least 6 characters, limiting entry attempts. Smart cards. Plastic cards with microprocessors. Can process data, act as certificates for purchases, grant access to restricted physical areas.
Like a company ID badge that's also a key.
Sort of, yeah, but with more processing power on board. Tokens, physical devices, or sometimes software apps that generate fixed-digit passcodes for secondary authentication. Can be synchronous based on time or asynchronous based on an algorithm.
Those little key fobs that show numbers changing.
That's often a synchronous token, yes. And finally, the increasingly common biometrics, using unique human physical characteristics. Facial recognition, fingerprints, voice, iris scans. Even your unique keystroke patterns can be used to verify identity.
The something you are factor. Cool, but also a bit sci-fi.
It's becoming very mainstream technology now.
So we all use passwords constantly. They feel like a necessary evil sometimes. What are the best practices and weaknesses when it comes to password management?
Password management is critical because it's still the most common form of authentication and therefore a frequent target for attackers. The weaknesses are pretty well known. People reuse them everywhere.
That's a huge one. Easily guessed passwords, shared passwords, passwords that are never changed. Short passwords are vulnerable to brute force attacks, where attackers just rapidly try all combinations.
Right.
And if passwords are saved, even hashed, in company databases, those databases can still be breached.
So how do organizations fight that?
Well, password complexity standards are vital. The longer a password, the exponentially more secure it becomes. NIST, for example, recommends at least 8 characters, but many companies now require 12 or even more. Plus, mixes of uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols.
Makes them harder to guess or crack.
Exactly. Frequent changes every 45 to 90 days is common, are also widely recommended, though there's some debate on the effectiveness versus just having very long, unique passwords.
Okay. And how are they stored? You mentioned hashing.
Right. For password managers and storage, organizations absolutely should not store passwords in plain text. They use hashing.
How does hashing work? Simply. Think of it like this. When you create a password, the system runs it through a one-way mathematical function. It doesn't store your actual password, but a unique, fixed-length digital fingerprint, the hash of it.
So it stores the fingerprint, not the password itself.
Correct. When you log in again, it takes the password you enter, generates its hash, and compares that hash to the stored hash. If they match, you're in. But critically, if an attacker steals the database of hashes, they can't easily reverse engineer your actual password from the hash. It's designed to be a one-way street.
Ah, okay. Much more secure than plain text.
Immensely more secure. It makes it very difficult for an attacker, even if they breach a database. They'd have to try hashing common passwords or run massive computations to find a match.
Got it. What about setting up accounts in the first place?
That's provisioning. The process of creating a user's account and granting them privileges, ideally based on their job role using least privilege principles during onboarding.
Giving them the keys they need.
Right. And just as important is deprovisioning, removing those credentials and access promptly when it's no longer authorized. When someone leaves the company or changes roles, you have to close those doors.
Go up afterwards.
Essential. And one last point here, device authentication. This verifies the identity of the device making a connection, often using its IP address or that unique MAC address we talked about. While it's generally considered weak on its own IP and MAC addresses can sometimes be spoofed, it significantly strengthens a multi-factor approach. It checks not just who you are, but what device you're using.
Another layer. Okay. Wow. Okay. So cyber attacks are like this endlessly evolving opponent, right? They're constantly finding new ways in. So how do organizations proactively identify and fix weaknesses before attackers exploit them? And how do they build truly resilient defenses that can withstand a determined assault? This seems like a never-ending battle.
It really is. And this is where vulnerability management comes in. It's a proactive security practice specifically designed to prevent the exploitation of IT weaknesses.
Proactive, not reactive.
That's the key. It's an ongoing, relentless process. Identify, classify, mitigate, and fix known vulnerabilities within a system. Organizations use constant detection and monitoring procedures to spot changes in configurations that might introduce new weaknesses or new threats discovered by researchers.
Like having a dedicated team constantly inspecting cities' walls for new cracks or even potential future cracks.
That's a good analogy, yeah. And there are several vulnerability tools that aid in this. The NIST Cybersecurity Framework, CSF, is often used here as a playbook. It has 5 core functions.
NIST CSF, okay. What are the functions?
Identify helps pinpoint vulnerabilities in systems, data, assets, even employees. Protect involves creating safeguards, like strong identity and access controls, securing assets, and forming employees. Detect defines activities to quickly identify vulnerabilities, looking for anomalies, continuous monitoring.
Find it, protect it, detect problems.
Right. Then respond means putting activities in place to react swiftly once a vulnerability is discovered. Analysis, mitigation, communication. And finally, recover helps an organization transition from a vulnerable state back to a mitigated normal state, using recovery plans and making improvements based on the incident.
Identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. A whole cycle.
Exactly, a continuous improvement cycle. Now, vulnerability scanners are automated applications that test systems for known security risks. They check against massive databases of threats.
Automated probes looking for holes.
Pretty much. They can scan for open ports, analyze data packets, identify operating systems and software versions with known flaws. Interestingly, attackers use these same tools to find weaknesses.
So it really is an arms race.
Absolutely. Which is why running your own scans regularly is crucial. Vulnerability assessments are more formal, periodic deep dives, often done quarterly or annually, that usually leverage these scanners. They provide an aggregate view, helping management see the bigger picture of organizational vulnerabilities. Sometimes processes in one department can inadvertently create weaknesses elsewhere.
Connecting the dots.
Right. And the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, CVE Dictionary, maintained by the NRA Corporation, is a crucial resource. It's a database providing unique identifiers for publicly known vulnerabilities.
Like a catalog of known security flaws.
Exactly. It standardizes the recognition and naming across the industry. This allows companies, security researchers, vendors to all speak a common language when discussing specific weaknesses. Makes it much easier to share information and deploy the right patches.
Standard names for problems. Makes sense.
And then there's patch management. This is fundamental. Minimizing threats through software vendor updates patches that fix bugs and known vulnerabilities.
Those update prompts we all get.
Those are often patches. It's a continuous, often tedious, but absolutely essential process. IT admins have to assess the patch, test it first on isolated systems. You don't want the patch breaking something else.
Right, test before deploying everywhere.
Then plan the implementation, deploy it across the entire network, and then validate that it was actually successfully installed everywhere. Skipping this is like leaving a known broken window unpatched in your digital city, just inviting trouble.
A relentless, continuous cycle. Find weaknesses, fix weaknesses. But okay, what's the ultimate strategy here? The grand vision. How do you ensure one weak link doesn't bring down the whole chain. Is there like a unifying defensive philosophy?
Yes, there absolutely is. That's the core concept of layered security and, more specifically, defense in depth.
Defense in depth. Okay.
Here's the aha moment, I think. In cybersecurity, you're not trying to build one single impenetrable wall because, frankly, that's impossible.
Right. Someone will always find a way through eventually.
Probably. So instead, you're building a series of increasingly difficult obstacles so that even if one defense fails, there are many others right behind it to slow down or catch the threat. The purpose is to protect an organization using a diversified set of security tactics. Ensure a single cyber attack doesn't compromise the entire system. It creates control redundancy.
Multiple hurdles for the attacker.
Exactly. Defense in depth is a multi-layered approach. It intelligently combines people, policies, technology, and both physical and logical access controls. Each layer contributes something different.
Okay, break that down.
Personnel are your vigilant guards, the experts operating security functions effectively, the employees following procedures. Policies are the laws and regulations governing how technology is used, the AUPs, the standards we talked about. Technology includes your technical controls, intrusion prevention systems, antivirus, firewalls, endpoint security. Right. Physical access controls are the tangible things: cameras, gates, locks, badge access to server rooms. And logical access controls are the rule-based software or hardware controls, authentication, MFA, permissions, ACLs. It's like building an onion. Peel back one layer and there's another right behind it.
Layers upon layer.
Central to this is redundancy and diversification, using two or more means of security to protect the same resource, eliminating single points of failure. Sometimes it's even duplication within duplication for maximum effectiveness.
How do you achieve that redundancy in practice?
Several ways. Process layering and isolation is one, breaking operations into smaller managed chunks, often handled by different people or machines. A classic example is how a secure facility might operate. One person grants remote access, another physical interacts with something, another transports it, maybe with reconciliation steps between them. Adds layers of human control and logical separation.
Dividing up sensitive tasks.
Exactly. Then there's abstraction and concealment. Abstraction hides complexity. It presents only the relevant information to the user, simplifying tasks and limiting their access without them needing to understand all the underlying complexity, like assigning user rights to specific functions without showing them the code.
Simplifying the interface to limit exposure.
Right. Concealment is similar, but focuses more on hiding the data itself, aligning user security levels with data security levels. You only see what your security clearance allows you to see.
Need to know again.
Very related, yes. And finally, hardware segmentation achieves separation physically. Using separate machines, often for large geographically distributed networks, sometimes creating literal air gaps between highly sensitive systems and less sensitive ones.
Physically separating critical systems. Got it. This has been a fantastic overview of how organizations build their defenses layer by layer. Really helpful. Now, let's try to bring it all together by maybe categorizing these controls. Are there main types, and how do they work in concert to create that truly robust defense system for our digital city?
Yeah, that's a great way to frame it. Well-designed cybersecurity controls are meant to mitigate threats at all points of discovery and at every stage of a counterattack. We can generally group them into three dynamic pillars: preventative, detective, and corrective controls.
Preventive, detective, corrective. Okay, let's start with preventive.
Preventative controls are exactly what they sound like. They're designed to thwart malicious activity from ever occurring in the first place. They are your city's reinforced walls, the strong locks, the vigilant guards at the gate.
Stopping bad things before they start.
Precisely. Examples include fundamental safeguarding practices, strong passwords, MFA, conducting thorough background checks on employees, having clear data handling guidelines, the simple act of locking unattended devices.
Basic security hygiene.
Absolutely. Education and training for employees are hugely preventive. Regular security updates and patches when applied before an attack happens, they're preventative. Encryption of data at rest or in transit. Firewalls, obviously. Physical barriers like locked doors, guards, fences. And a key player here, technically, are intrusion prevention systems. IPS. We touched on this difference earlier.
Right, IPS versus IDS.
Exactly. An IPS receives a direct feed of network traffic and is designed to detect and actively stop a cyber attack before it reaches its target systems.
So an IPS is like that vigilant bouncer at the club, actively stopping threats right at the door, rather than just shouting an alert once they're already inside.
That's the perfect analogy, yes. It actively blocks the malicious traffic.
Whereas an IDS just detects and alerts.
Correct. An intrusion detection system detects, an intrusion prevention system prevents. Now, within preventive controls, access controls are vital, governing who can access what. We talked about some models.
Right. Least privileged need to know.
Yes. And the implementation models like discretionary access control, DAC, where data owners manage their own access, versus mandatory access control, MAC, which is much stricter, centrally managed rules. Role-based access control access based on your job role.
How are these actually put into practice?
Often using controls like access control lists, ACLs. These are lists of rules typically attached to a file, folder, or network resource, outlining which users or groups have permission to access it and what actions they can perform, read, write, edit, execute.
The permissionless.
Exactly. We differentiate between file system ACLs for OS files folders and networking ACLs that regulate network traffic, often configured on routers and switches. While ACLs can filter traffic like firewalls, their primary role is usually managing specific user permissions on resources. And of course, simple physical barriers like locked doors and fences remain fundamental preventive controls.
Okay, so preventive is all about stopping things before they happen. But inevitably, some weaknesses might be exploited, or a clever threat might slip through. What about when something does get through, or a new weakness is found?
That's exactly where detective controls come in. These are designed to detect a threat event while it is occurring, or shortly after. They are your city's surveillance cameras, motion detectors, and alarm systems.
Catching things in the act.
Right. Examples include a network intrusion detection system, NIDS. This monitors network traffic across devices looking for known attack patterns or anomalies and sends alerts. Antivirus software monitoring does real-time scans of files being accessed or downloaded, quarantining or alerting on detected viruses.
Okay.
Various network monitoring tools like packet sniffers or network performance monitoring, NPM tools, constantly measure network statistics, looking for unusual traffic patterns or system behavior. Log analysis is huge, recording and monitoring all system and application logs to detect patterns that might indicate unauthorized access or malicious activity.
Shifting through the data trails.
Exactly. And as we keep distinguishing, intrusion detection systems, IDS, scan the environment for unauthorized access attempts or policy violations. The key difference again. An IDS detects an attack, often after it starts, but it cannot prevent it on its own. It raises the alarm.
Got it. Detects, doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So preventive stops it before, detective spots it during. What's the last pillar?
Corrective controls. These are intended to fix known vulnerabilities or remediate the impact after a security incident has occurred, or perhaps after an assessment has identified a flaw.
The cleanup crew and the repair team.
Good way to put it. The interesting thing is that once implemented effectively, these corrective measures often then become preventive or detective controls for future incidents. They strengthen the defenses going forward.
Ah, learning from mistakes.
Exactly. Examples include reconfigurations like revamping firewall rules, changing OS security settings, tightening access controls to close a discovered loophole. Upgrades and patches, when applied after a vulnerability has been exploited or identified in an assessment, serve as corrective measures to mend broken code.
Patching after the fact.
Right. Revised policies and procedures can be corrective, maybe splitting job duties, separation of duties, if collusion was found, or adding new review steps. Updated employee training helps close knowledge gaps revealed by an incident, teaching employees to recognize and react to new forms of fraud or attack methods.
Training based on real events.
Very effective. Recovery and continuity plans are absolutely crucial corrective controls for quickly resuming operations after a disaster or significant attack. And of course, immediate actions like antivirus software removing malicious viruses it finds, or virus quarantining to isolate threats are direct corrective actions. #tag outro.
Wow. So what does this all mean for you listening? We've covered an incredible breadth and depth of cybersecurity defense today. It's really something.
That's a lot to take in.
It is. From those high-level guiding principles like the COSO framework, embedding security right into the organization's DNA, down to the granular details of network components, all those different user authentication methods like MFA, and that constant vigilance of vulnerability management. It's truly a complex and fascinating landscape. What really stands out to me is the power of layered security, that defense in depth concept. It's so clear it's not about finding one single magic bullet that stops all attacks. That doesn't exist.
No silver bullet.
Right. Instead, it's this sophisticated, always evolving symphony of people, robust policies, cutting-edge technology, and careful physical and logical access controls all working together. And the importance of redundancy, having multiple protective measures for the same resource, ensuring no single point of failure that just can't be overstated.
Redundancy is key.
Understanding these concepts, I think, gives you a powerful new lens to view your own digital interactions. You start seeing the security measures silently protecting you every single day. You're now equipped with the why behind many of those pop-up updates, those annoying complex password rules, the security notifications you encounter.
Yeah, hopefully it demystifies some of that.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, given how rapidly cyber threats evolve, the sheer ingenuity of attackers, this continuous dance of defense and adaptation, it raises a really important question, I think.
Which is?
What does this mean for the future of digital trust? In our increasingly connected world, how can individuals and organizations not just keep pace, but continue to adapt and innovate to stay not just one step, but ideally many steps ahead?
That's a great point. It's not static.
Not at all. It truly is a continuous learning process for everyone involved: security professionals, organizations, users. It's a journey that never really stops being interesting or challenging.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cybersecurity defenses.
Mm.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and definitely stay safe out there in the digital world.